and welcome back to Anne's Family Recipe. If you don't know already, we are getting ready to move. I think our closing date is in about 2 weeks from now, so we're frantically packing up everything in our home, and I'm trying to clear out my pantry, some of my emergency food storage, and our fridge so that we don't have too many leftovers, because during the transition, we are moving in with my husband's parents for just a couple weeks until we can move into our new home. So yes, we have sold our house, we're buying a new house, and we're gonna live with the in-laws in between. So we're in the midst of a crazy adventure, but it's something we're very excited about. My husband got a new job, so that's what's spurring this move, because I know I showed you the whole journey of us renovating a lot of this house, and we've only been here about 2 years. So moving on, today I am going to show you kind of what's left in our pantry and fridge. We'll talk about some ideas for maybe recipes that I can make with the ingredients that I have on hand, and I'll show you what I come up with. So here we go. This is my pantry, and if you follow me on Instagram, you know that a few weeks ago we had a mouse in here, so it prompted a unplanned, ruthless declutter of pretty much all of the pantry items that we own, which was a little bit sad with the cost of groceries these days, having to get rid of 2 giant garbage bags full of food. But one mouse or multiple mice got into everything. Like anything that they could nibble through, they did. I disinfected any cans that remained. I disinfected these canisters for my flour and sugar. I didn't want to get rid of them, so I just totally disinfected those. We read online that mice don't really like coffee. It's a deterrent. These are just Ziploc bags, and they were all sealed up, and we didn't think they had touched the coffee because that was all closed up. Otherwise, we got rid of everything, and we never actually caught a mouse. Hot tip, I just use classic mouse traps with a little dab of peanut butter, and that has worked for me in the past, but we never actually caught anything. Once I cleared everything out and cleaned the floors and these racks really well, to our knowledge, they never came back. Now, of course, my husband tells me that there's always mice in here. We just don't always notice it, which is disgusting. But this time we noticed it because they had eaten through everything. There was even a bin over here of like dry goods. They had carefully placed a grain of rice and a peanut on top of it, like a little table setting. It was awful. So we pretty much got rid of everything. And you can see I've moved my glass measuring cups, all my mixing bowls, my kitchen scale over here because I wanted to clear out just one cupboard that I could use for some food. And I bought some plastic storage bins at Walmart just for a couple cereals and snacks. And I'm just trying to keep everything as sealed up and contained as possible. There aren't any openings, as far as I know, in the backs of these cabinets that anything can get into. So this is working well for us just for this last month of us living here. Now over here I have 2 bins of emergency food storage that we had been saving. I've already kind of started working my way through what we have, but I didn't really dig down to the bottom. So I wanted to look through both of those today quickly and see what I could use up. Okay, so I'm down here with my emergency food storage bins that I want to clear out because between closing on this house and moving into our new house, I think we have to live with my husband's parents for about 3 weeks or so. So there's that little bit of an interim, and I don't want to bring tons of groceries into their house. So I just want to use up what we can, or I can donate the rest too. I kind of have a couple of ideas already just from glancing in here, but I'm gonna go through and sort of meal plan for the week, and I'll make a grocery list filling in any gaps of things that I don't have. But we're starting off with a giant box of cans of baked beans. Right off the top of my head, I thought of this recipe that I saw Jessica Braun here on YouTube make. I think she and her husband call it scoot, but it's just baked beans. Well, you brown either ground beef or sausage. You add in a can of baked beans and some barbecue sauce, and that's it. I think my kids would really enjoy that, and in fact my husband has some meetings late tonight, so it's just me and the kids eating dinner. So I think I'm going to crack open one of these big cans of baked beans, start working my way through this. This is a ton, and we'll have that for dinner tonight. Next up is a box of cans of green beans. So the last 2 boxes, they were from Sam's Club. That's why I bought them in bulk a while ago. But for these, I'm gonna make my husband some bean salad for lunch. He really enjoys that. I don't have a specific recipe. It kind of just depends on what's in my pantry. Typically I'll use drained cans of black beans, chickpeas, green beans. You can dice up some onion or green onions for a little flavor. And then I usually add some really finely diced up bell peppers or tomatoes if I have them.
red wine vinegar, oil, salt and pepper, maybe a little garlic powder. It's typically some variation of that. So this will be a great way to use these up. I bet I can, within the next month, use most of these just making him some bean salad for his lunches. And of course I enjoy that too. Just something a little bit healthier to eat for lunch. And it's a cold salad, although you could do it warm too. Actually, I have made a warm 3-bean salad in the past. So lots of options for this. And of course I can just heat up a can of these throughout the weeks as a side dish for dinner too. So I'm sure we can use most of these up. Lots of cans of tuna. I made a hot tuna pasta last week, and I'm probably gonna make some more tuna pasta this week. I really wanna make cold tuna pasta salad. I have a really good macaroni salad recipe here on my channel. It's just a classic creamy dressing. There's some little bits of carrots and bell peppers, some green onions in there, and I think, and hard-boiled egg. Not that I really want to be cooking with too many eggs these days, they're so expensive, but I'll probably throw in a couple cans of tuna to that too. We can also do tuna melts for lunches or dinner, so try to get through a few of these cans of tuna. Here we have refried beans, kidney beans. It's looking like I'm probably gonna make some chili at some point with all the beans I have in here. Peas, pineapple chunks. We'll have to have a canned fruit salad at some point, which will be delicious. I love that, my kids love that. Lots of diced tomatoes, so again, good for chili. I love making hamburger soup too. You just brown like a pound or two of ground beef, and then you could add in any canned vegetables you have, dice up a potato or an onion and garlic, throw it in, diced canned tomatoes, and then you can add beef broth to it, and it makes this delicious, very easy kind of pantry soup. So, so good. So I might make that as well. This is going to be a hard sell for my husband. He grew up, his mom is 100% Italian, so he pretty much only eats homemade spaghetti sauce, and I bought this specially selected vodka sauce at Aldi. It sounded good to me. I might just have to eat this for lunches myself with some of this pasta over here. I have giant boxes of pasta from Sam's Club that I have to get through as well. But my kids and I will probably enjoy this. I don't know if my husband's gonna be open to trying it. We will see. But like I said, this was emergency food storage, so I kind of just bought a bunch of things that we would use in a pinch, but don't typically cook with. I actually have pinto beans, which I don't think I've ever had pinto beans before. I see a lot of Southern cooks here on YouTube make beans and cornbread all the time, so we might have to try that as an easy, inexpensive dinner one night. Okay, over here I have a giant box of salt, which I don't think I'm gonna go through before we move, although I don't know if I'm gonna use this for cooking, but I might use this for a craft for my kids. Years ago, I made homemade Play-Doh here on my channel, and you need a lot of salt for the dough. It's just a combo of salt and flour, I think a little oil, maybe some water. I can't totally remember. And then you can color and scent it with Kool-Aid. It's not edible. I mean, it's non-toxic and it's all edible ingredients, but it's so salty once you take a little taste. It's disgusting. But it wouldn't hurt you if you ate a little bit of it. So it's good for little kids to play with. But this would be a good way to use up this much salt by making that homemade Play-Doh. So we might have a little activity in our future. And that would use up oil and flour for my pantry too. So we might have to do that. Also, we've already packed up all of our games, books, and like craft supplies. So I'm really struggling to figure out how my kids can pass the time without turning on the TV all the time in these next few weeks. So maybe some homemade Play-Doh is in our future. Here I have yeast. This is a huge package of yeast. Let me see the expiration date. Okay, it doesn't expire until October of this year. I might just bring this with me unopened because it's nice and sealed up right now. If I use it in 1 or 2 recipes, there'll still be so much left and I'll have to store it in a somewhat less secure way. So this will keep it fresh, and then we'll do a lot of baking before October of this year. All right, and last up in this bin I mentioned the pasta. I know I have spaghetti and I have elbow macaroni left over, so I can use the macaroni in my tuna pasta salad later this week. There's also lots of canned chicken, and the Super Bowl's coming up. I know I'll be making buffalo chicken dip for my family. And I also like making buffalo chicken pizzas on naan bread, so I think I can go through a lot of cans of chicken too before we move. I think that's about it. So I have some good ideas for how I can use up these few pantry ingredients here, and now I'm going to make my grocery list and hit the store. I do not use anything fancy for my grocery list. I'm a Post-it note girl through and through, but you can see I just have a few items here. It's my kids' 100th day at school this week, so they need a box of Fruit Loops for some activity they're doing. and then just some basics, mostly produce and meats, and then a couple of extras that I need. And then over here I do like to jot down the ideas for things that I'm making, so I know that I have at least like 5 days covered. So I talked about that scoot, and I have some leftover cornbread we can eat tonight. 3-bean salad for lunches, tuna pasta salad. I've really been wanting to make meatloaf, and I have potatoes. They're in the fridge right now. I don't normally keep my potatoes in the fridge, but I didn't want them in the pantry, so I want to use those up and make baked potatoes, and I'll buy a green vegetable today. And then I can also make some pasta with vodka sauce and little like Italian chicken bites. So I'll just chop up chicken breasts and pan sear them in some butter and olive oil with Italian seasonings and garlic. And I'll keep that separate from the pasta because I think my kids like to eat everything kind of separately, but those are my ideas for the week, so we'll see where this gets us. Okay, so I did buy a pound of ground mild sausage, but then I realized I think I want to use ground beef in this scoot recipe. So I'm going to save this and add it to my queso dip that I'm making for the Super Bowl this weekend. So I'll just brown this and add it to some melted Velveeta and Rotel, and it's a delicious dip. So this is going in the freezer for now for the weekend, and instead I'm going to use some of this large package of ground beef. So this is a little less than 2.5 pounds. I'll probably use about 1/3 of it because this dinner's only for me and my kids tonight, and then I'm going to save the rest of the ground beef to make meatloaf later this week. I'm using my spurtle to break the meat up, and I'll brown it before adding in the baked beans and barbecue sauce. And that's the whole recipe, so it's super easy. It's probably only going to take about 10 or 15 minutes to pull this dinner together. There is a little bit of excess grease, so I'm going to drain it. I always like to use my turkey baster to do that. So I can just suction that out into a little bowl on the side here. And then next we'll add the baked beans. The meat is browned, I drained the fat, and now I'm adding in 2 cans of baked beans. These are just those regular size cans I showed you before that I had in my food storage. You could also use 1 large 28-ounce cans of baked beans too, and these are just the original flavor, but I'm sure any flavor would work in this recipe. The final ingredient is barbecue sauce, and it's kind of added to taste. I had a little bit of this Jack Daniel's original barbecue sauce left over in the fridge. I got this at Walmart and it's really delicious. Unfortunately, I don't have enough, I think, to only use this in the recipe. So I picked up just some Sweet Baby Ray's at Aldi, which is good too. It's a little bit on the sweet side, but it still adds great flavor, like kind of a classic barbecue flavor. I'm just gonna squirt this over top until it kind of covers the whole casserole, and then it'll be ready to go. Now that this is all stirred together, I'll just let it simmer over low to medium low heat, maybe for about 10 minutes, and then I'll get our cornbread ready and we'll have dinner. Cheese! Tonight for dinner, I'm going to dice up probably half of these chicken breasts and just saute them in little pieces in some olive oil and butter and Italian seasonings. And then I'm going to use up these, at least the vodka sauce, and then if I need more, I'll use the marinara sauce. I've never tried Aldi's marinara, but I've heard good things. And then I'm also going to use up a box of spaghetti. So I'll boil that over here, saute the chicken bites. I season these chicken bites with salt and pepper, garlic powder, and Italian seasoning, and I'm just gonna saute them until they're cooked through and golden brown. This dinner is nice because all of the elements are separate to start, so I can kind of build everybody's plate
as wanted or desired. So I have my steamed broccoli. I just seasoned it with salt and pepper and garlic powder. And my cooked spaghetti, I put a little bit of butter and salt on that for people who don't want it with the sauce. I showed you I combined the marinara and the vodka sauce together and then doctored it up with some half and half, salt and pepper, garlic powder, a little Parmesan cheese, and butter. It definitely needed some extra flavor. It was a little bit bland. It wasn't bad. It's definitely a good base layer, but it needed some extra flavor to it. And then my little chicken bites. Tonight I'm making mulligatawny, which is a chicken curry soup, and I have leftover chicken from the vodka sauce and pasta and little Italian chicken bites from last night. I don't have too much of it, so I'm gonna supplement that with a can of chickpeas because that's a great addition of protein in any curry dish that you might make. I also have some carrots, an apple, onion, and garlic already on hand. And I also have a can of pineapple chunks, which surprisingly makes a tasty topping for mulligatawny. This soup really lends itself to some sweeter toppings. It's great with raisins, shredded coconut, pineapple chunks. It's also good with bell peppers, hard-boiled egg, peanuts. The sky's the limit with the toppings here, so this is a great pantry clean-out soup that you can make. I actually don't have any raisins or peanuts in my pantry right now, and I don't want to restock them because I think we're moving in a week or two. But I do have almonds. I'll chop those up, and some dried cranberries, and that canned pineapple. So those will make some good toppings for the mulligatawny. I just wanted to share with you how I used the leftover mulligatawny. There was definitely more rice left over than the soup, but it still makes a nice flavorful kind of sauce for the rice. There's still some veggies in there. And then I added the steamed broccoli that I had made on a different evening. And that actually pairs very well with the mulligatawny. You can put a lot of veggies in there and it'll taste great in any kind of curry. And then some more cranberries because I thought those tasted great. Mulligatawny makes delicious leftovers. It probably tastes even better than it does fresh because the flavors really marry together and it tastes awesome. Tonight I'm making chili, and let me show you all the cans that I'm gonna use up for this recipe. I'm gonna use a couple tablespoons of tomato paste, 2 cans of diced tomatoes and their juices. This one's fire roasted, so I'll just use that up. A can of kidney beans that I'll drain and rinse, and then 2 cans of black beans that I will drain and rinse. So that's good. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cans out of the supply. I just made some taco meat for tomorrow night, and I was able to use up a small can of tomato sauce. I always add that to my ground beef with either a pre-made packet of taco seasoning, or today I just used some seasonings from my pantry. So earlier we were talking about canned goods and dry goods from my pantry, but I kind of forgot to check my fridge door, and we actually have a lot of condiments to use up too. So this week it's just my kids and me for most dinners. So I got some hot dogs and burgers. We'll be able to use up, you know, mustard, ketchup, relish. I bought some frozen French fries so I can make a fry sauce, maybe use up some mayo there. What else do we have here? I'm trying to see. Oh, well, you know, I have those cans of baked beans, so we can have that as a side with the hot dogs and French fries. I can throw some barbecue sauce into that. Looks like we might be having some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and Mexican food. So I have a big jar of salsa, actually a couple jars of salsa on the fridge. There's a green one and a red one. I always have tortillas on hand in my fridge. I have a bunch of shredded cheese, and I just bought some ground beef today. So we can definitely do some sort of easy kind of soft taco burrito night this week too. Well, that wraps up my pantry and refrigerator clean out challenge here today. I hope I gave you some ideas on how you can use up some ingredients you might have on hand. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You can follow me over on Instagram at Ann's Family Recipe and give this video a thumbs up. Thanks so much for joining me here today, and I'll see you again soon.